In May of 1999, some 2,000 carpenters in the San Francisco Bay Area went out on a wildcat strike against their own union leadership, who had signed a rotten contract over the carpenters' heads. We didn't even have the right to vote on it. Here is a video with a few scenes of that wildcat strike, plus a conference that we held afterwards, because we realized that we needed to organize for the long run, and in order to organize, we had to have a conference and determine a program around which we were going to fight. So I think we should go ahead and get started. And really we have a very good turnout for a Saturday morning, a nice day out and everything. And we should just think about where we got how we got started. Because really this whole thing got started with just one or two people organizing, calling for a rally at the May 15th Regional Council meeting. And from there, we had over 100 people at that rally. That led to thousands walking off jobs. We now have union meetings. Most of the meetings in our area, they're 5, 6, 7 times what they were before that walk-off. So I think that we have come a long, long ways, and really I think this turnout today for a Saturday afternoon when we all work hard during the week, because we're all working carpenters, that this is a tremendous turnout. Also, I guess I should just introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm John Ryman. I'm the recording secretary in Local 713, and I'm the chair of the Working Carpenters for a Stronger Union. Just to give one further little example of how far we've come. This is, I'm not going to read it all to you, but I have 28 pages here of messages of support from off of the internet, from the different carpenter lists on the internet. This is just one, for example. They say that we'll be spreading the word to my fellow carpenters. He says, I support what you're doing 100%. I'm a journeyman wireman at IBEW Local 292 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'll be taking off July 1st and tell my brothers and sisters about it if you decide that's what you want to do. Richard Miller, Vice President of AFSCME Local 444, representing blue-collar workers in the local water district, makes a special presentation.
They're not going to do that. So a representative of you guys came to my local on my last membership meeting. I hope we can show that video at the next one and give a little talk about it. And it was interesting how it developed. There was a motion made from the floor. I don't know if Ray knows this because he left. There was a motion made from the floor to donate $100 to the Working Carpenters for a Stronger Union. So then some young guy at the back got up. He's not official or not anything, he's a rank and file member. He got up and he said, I speak against this. I want to make it $500. Well, there was talk about 500. There was an amendment for 500. So the guy got up and spoke against it. He said, I think it should be 1,000. So people got up to speak against the 100, and we eventually, that was defeated and a new motion was made, and we got $1,000 from AFSCME Local 444.
There followed a presentation on why we needed a general plan of action and a program.
The more that we realized that what happened with this contract, it didn't just come out of nowhere, that it flowed from the whole view that our leadership has of what the union is, how the union can be strengthened, how it relates to the contractors, what role it has in general, and all that sort of thing. It's an inherent part of that. And really there's no way that we can be successful in our struggle unless we clarify first in our own minds exactly what our union leadership has in mind in general, and based on that, what we think is wrong with it and what we think is an alternative.
Some of the members got to talking about how they see the full-time appointed officials.
Well, the carpenters reject this contract, and I just can't believe that they stand there in front of us, and just tell us, hey, screw you guys, we're in here for this raise, we think it's a good contract, and you guys are going to have to live with it, I just don't get it.
Having differences with the business agents, all the more reason why they should be making exactly what we make.
They've all jumped on the bandwagon for one member, one vote. Simulate democracy.
John Jung, future elected president of Local 713, comments on the link between union democracy and mobilizing the membership.
We need to have mass meetings. We had them in the past, and the reason we don't have them now is they didn't like the results. The results is that if a proposed contract sucks, and they can snope a certain amount of people, there's always some people who really read into these things, understand what's going on, and they start debating the issues, and everyone starts turning around going, hey, yeah, that's true. Now, the thing is, democracy is not built on just voting, but it's built on participation and education and understanding the issues. And if we can't create that in our union, it doesn't make a difference how many votes we get, because if somebody else is controlling your vote, it's not worth much.
Yeah, I think just maybe going along with the issue of voter membership, we also need, membership vote, we also need membership education. We feel we need a greater communication among rank and file carpenters and other trades throughout the U.S. and Canada.
Here, some of the program and goals are presented.
Through a one-site seniority system. And I'd just like to explain a couple of points on here. The first is, as far as the Black Fridays, which for those of you who are newer in the trade, you know that means that every other Friday off. They used to be Black pay raise. It comes out of the contractor's pockets instead of ours. If we got those sorts of advances, then we easily could afford to take every other Friday off. And I know I was brought up in this union under that regime. Well, prior to that, we had every Friday was a half day. Then we went to every other Friday off. And I mean, that was just like, it was like one of the most beautiful, I see a wistful smile on the brother's face there. That was just like one of the most beautiful perks of being a carpenter. We loved it. You really didn't lose all that much money because in any case the job just lasted all that much longer. And so it spread the work around a little bit more. And anybody, for instance, that's a parent, if you've got young kids, I mean, it's just really all working people should have less than a 40-hour work week. So, and especially now for us carpenters, when we're driving long distances, many of us, and that sort of thing, I think that it's really important. I think the coffee breaks, they say, well, it's going to cost us $1.50 an hour in wages for a coffee break. Well, I've worked on jobs that give coffee breaks. I've worked on jobs that don't give coffee breaks. And you know, it's a funny thing. I got the same pay on both. So that is just simply nonsense. That's just what the contractors claim, and our union leaders just parrot back what they have to say. I want to make one comment on the job protection through a one-site seniority system. In the past, when we had a group similar to this back in the 70s going, that was one demand that we developed. And what it would mean is that barring, like if you come into work drunk or if you prove to be incompetent or that sort of thing, that when layoff time comes, it goes in reverse seniority. The first one on the job is the last one laid off. So that, for instance, if they don't like the fact that you're a woman, if they don't like your race, if they don't like the fact that you stand up for the union, they can't just send you packing down the road at the first opportunity on that. That would provide a tremendous protection. And I have heard a lot of business agents say, well, you know, the members won't stand up for the union on the job. Well, the union is not standing up for the members on the job because it grants the contractors complete right to lay you off basically whenever they like. So I think that that is something very important to have in our contract, linked with making the contractors call the hall for at least a significant portion of the workers on the job. So they can't just pick and choose who they want. They can't just have their own little company people on the job. They've got to call a certain number of people out of the hall. So I think those two things are real important. One last point on the coffee breaks. They say, well, if you just want a coffee break, just go ahead and take it. Well, if that's all it took, we wouldn't even need a union. There's this whole philosophy that stands behind it, that we have to keep the contractors happy. And I think the philosophy that we have to put forward in opposition to that is we have to keep the members happy. And if the members are kept happy with the union, they will keep
Some of the members were not entirely convinced.
I'd rather work than get the day going by quicker, but.
So we're kind of being interactive by taking this Black Friday. Not only that, it makes us look a little greedy. Oppose the view that the union should help the union contractors compete with the non-union. The union needs to support the union contractors.
We should just explain that in those days, not all jobs gave a coffee break.
And that is getting a break on my contract. That's why I went down to the regional council meeting and barged in there, because I want those guys to know I want that on my contract. I want my break.
When I work, my body feels just like, and it's hot out there. I'm exhausted, but I have to keep going because this project has to get completed. It can't wait on me to be tired, lick my wounds and whatnot. And I tell you what, folks, that feels real good when you can look forward to that break to catch a breather. Remember, your body, when you're working out there, it's an engine, and it needs to be refueled. I'm working up to something else. In regards to the Black Fridays, no, it is not greedy. When you work that hard and you produce like that, you're entitled to try to expect some time off.
Chris Larson, 713. I really don't like the term Black Fridays either. I'd rather call them back Fridays. Giving your back 20% rest, because I think our union should be striving not only to improve our wages, but also to reduce the impact of working in this trade takes on your body. Yeah. Because hopefully, when we gain our pension benefits and I can retire at a reasonably early age, I can bend over to pick up my grandkids.
And, I mean, nobody says anything about that. We expect them to be greedy. I think that things like skill saws and nail guns that make the work go so much faster, they get all the benefits. They expect more work to be done faster. We should get the benefits for that. If the work can be done faster, we should have more time for ourselves. I don't want to wait 30 years to live my life. I'll be very happy to have time for myself now. We should be organizing the workers and saying that's where our power is. I think that should be, we should add that to the things that we should push.
I'm in my mid-40s now. I've been working with a herniated disc for 2 years. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. But I tell you, the older you get, the more you're going to see that it's a real advantage to having a 3-day weekend every other week, you know? And the thing is, you know, this is a hard, nobody disagrees with us that this is hard work and that it's hard on our bodies. Well, you got to take care of that body if you're going to even hope to work anywhere close to the time you're 60 years old. So it's not, I mean, sure, the other stuff is great. I mean, it really does change your family's life and stuff like that when you have a 3-day weekend. That's good, but you also need the rest like everyone's been talking about.
Rob Rook, future recording secretary of Local 713.
The employers are getting the benefit of that. And I think that Working Carpenters for a Stronger Union has to make it very clear that what we're in favour of is a union which takes care of the older workers as well as the younger workers. And that's, I've got the knees, I've got the elbows, I've got all those problems because of job speed. I'm one of the most productive workers that you'll get doing T-bars, but I know I can't keep doing it another 10, 15 years. I don't imagine I'm going to be doing it in 15 years. And the problem then comes in the issue that are you going to be able to work long enough to get the pension? I think the Black Fridays, we can either take the position of that was then and we'll never get it back again, or we can say that's one of our goals. And I don't think we should say that we're going to win these things or it's credible to win these things immediately. But we do know that if we had a really powerful union, like a number of the other unions out there, we could win it today. So the question is, how do we go from where we are now to where we want to be? We have to start by saying what we really want at the end of the road, not like the pennies, right? Immediately, but what we really want in terms of our long term, because that's what this conference is about. I think is establishing what kind of an industry we want to be working in, what kind of a situation we want in terms of our our quality of life at work. So I think that the Black Friday is also a big issue during recessions. When you've got a third of the workers sitting on the bench, then the idea of a shorter work week is important.
I don't know.
A public sector office worker weighs in on the issues.
$10 raise, that it would seem greedy. Well, when the CEOs are sitting around the table and they're talking about designing plans for stadiums or whatever, and they're demanding $10 billion in profits, nobody's saying they're greedy. So why should we or you feel greedy about asking for a $10 raise? How much they should expect in profits? Do they ask your permission? Well, what's the fair price that we should expect in profits? Hell no. They shoot for the moon and the stars.
And they did.
They do. On your backs. On your backs, at your expense. I also wanted to mention that other trades are watching you. Everybody is, I'm pretty active with other locals in NAFSME and SEIU, and this Wildcat has been the talk of the town. People are watching, and you may be the path pavers. Hey, what they're trying, with the trade union, they're trying to implement this practice on you guys. No breaks, elimination of your Black Fridays, but what they really would like for that to spread throughout the labor movement. First we'll start with the trades, union trades. Then it'll drizzle down to the public sector. We need to think of that, the whole picture.
We're now, especially for some of the younger brothers and sisters, it can seem, not just in our union, but people in general, it can seem like this is a natural thing, like hurricanes in the Caribbean in a certain time of year, that you have to give something away every time your contract comes up. Well, goddammit, it's not a natural thing. Why should we have to give anything away? Why shouldn't everybody else have what we had when I started out? In 1988, we made the equivalent of $31.40 an hour in terms of what you could buy at the grocery store and what you had to pay at the gas pump. Well, why shouldn't you make the same thing now? It wasn't like a hurricane swept through this country and took stuff away from us through forces of nature. It was the forces of Ronald Reagan and the employers, and it wasn't just Reagan either. Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter and them did it too. They set something in motion. If we start out by accepting what they set in motion, then we have no ways to go but backwards. Finally, on the question of appearing greedy, there's some other points here that I think that will deal with that answer, with that issue, in terms of fighting for seeing this as part of a struggle for all workers, to kick off a broader movement.
Was recently. And I want to tell you something about the contractors and the subcontractors and the guys that work for them. These contractors are making money, big money. They take their foremen and send them off to Barbados for a week while the guys are there working their butts off for peanuts. These contractors are just stuffing their pockets full. I promise, and that's not typical of all contractors. I'm not being, I'm not saying every contractor's out there gouging everybody. But what I'm telling you is these guys make money. Hey, this is the time right now. The eyes of the country are focused on us. All the working people, the working class in the whole United States, Canada, even in other countries. It's focused right here because they're attacking the whole labor movement through this union right here. Because if we don't, it's just like conceding, and we're going to let down thousands and thousands and thousands of people because they're counting on us to stand up for them. We're the first battle. We got to hold up. We got to convince the leadership, the contractors, and everybody else, all of our brothers and sisters around the world, that we're going to stand in there and fight for what's right for the working man.
This is what the working carpenters and the Carpenters Union are up against.
This is just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
Just the beginning. That's it.
There's a big job right across the street from the ballpark. They've worked off. We've got carpenters going out into Livermore to the red line job there. We've got carpenters going down to
The Wildcat Strike might have ended, and they might have suppressed the spirit and the ideas of that Wildcat Strike, but the Carpenters Union leadership and the leadership of the rest of the unions has not heard the end from the rank and file.